All right, we are recording. Hi, I'm LéTania Severe, she, her pronouns, with King County Equity Now's research team, and I am joined by a very special guest. I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Cool. I'm Kristen Mccowan. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Missouri, go Mizzou, and she, her pronouns.
Awesome. Thank you for joining today. I'm very excited to talk with you for a variety of reasons. It's funny, we met prior, I don't even know, it's been like a year, yeah. COVID has really screwed up time, but we met through Manu. Manu, I actually interviewed Manu on here not that long ago. Yeah, so yep, we have a mutual researcher friend, and then things came full circle and we meet again for something completely different. So I'm super pumped to have for that to have happened. But I'd love for you to just tell us about some of the research you've done, some of your research interests, and what you're working on.
Cool. So I've done quite a bit of research. During my PhD program, I focused a lot on what I like to call critical youth development. That's what my dissertation was about. And it's all about how are we raising conscious children, critically conscious children. And so I think a lot about consciousness raising education and interventions for young folks. And so, so during my PhD program, I actually got to do lots of research with like middle schoolers in the Seattle area. And some of it was like, what they call social emotional learning in schools and programs like that. And so then we got into a lot of like racial equity work a couple years ago with some middle schools in Renton. And so that's been really fun, helping them understand why racial equity initiatives are not sustainable in their systems. And so currently working on a manuscript to get those findings published, because it's super important to understand like why things fall apart. And some folks are like, oh well, we just got a few bad seeds, and that kind of messes up the whole thing. And I'm like, well, that's exactly what we're finding. A few bad seeds can really halt how racial equity efforts are sort of going in any system, especially in schools. And most recently, I've been doing, so I'm an assistant professor, but I also do independent research as a consultant. And so since I'd say June of June of this year, I've been working with Wana Wari, and we've been working on developing some surveys, a homeowner survey, and also an artist and cultural worker survey. So I've been pretty knee deep in survey development as of late, which has been really, really fun. And it's been a pleasure to work with the folks at Wana Wari. Yeah, really couldn't ask for a better sort of independent project to be engaged in.
Awesome. Yes. And as a reminder, Wana Wari is one of our research orgs for our community research. So it's pretty awesome, the work that you all are doing over there, and being able to add the Black homeowner voice to, as well as the artist voice to the overall work that we're doing around public safety. So it's pretty cool. I'd love to know a little bit more about your the findings for your research that you're going to get published. So with all the, were there any things that you found that would be more appropriate than the initiatives that were kind of falling apart due to some bad
seeds?
Yeah.
Well, I think that, in a lot of schools, there's been lots written about this, but ultimately our recommendations came out to be, there actually, needs to be a zero tolerance policy for teachers and staff members in schools. And so, and it needs to be written in their sort of handbook or wherever, and there needs to be consequences, because when we talk about sort of holding folks accountable, the only folks in school systems, as far as I can tell, that are being held accountable are young folks, are the students, right? It's like, are we disciplining them, when they act out? And we see that in the data, but we don't really get a sense of like how teachers are being sort of held accountable for their actions and their sort of discriminatory discipline practices. And so in a lot of, it's really tough too to get teachers on board for anything. I'm finding, and I think part of it, has to do with they're unionized, and so sometimes you really can't tell teachers what to do. And administration, the locus of control in the school is kind of like unidentifiable. It varies, and so it's really, really hard. And of course, like firing teachers is also super hard. And so when there are instances that sort of warrant, firing someone, it rarely happens. And so anyway, so I think that's the most important finding. It's just that like there's no accountability for teachers, which is not new. Like we kind of know that. Right. But the ways in which that prevents sort of a school-wide culture around equitable practices is pretty stark. And so, it can't just be, oh, we have, that teacher is kind of racist and we just roll our eyes and walk past. That can't be the case if we want to transform schools.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome work that you did for your dissertation. Good luck with the publication process.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are you excited about moving forward?
Lots to be excited about, even in the midst of COVID. I'm really excited actually about what KTN is doing and the research endeavors that are going on there. Like it's so rare that we have Black-led research teams, and in academia, very, very rare. And so, and so it's nice. And I think like one of the things I was thinking about, like that's so beneficial for folks who are interested in research is finding a team that sort of aligns with their like, epistemological viewpoints and like, just gets where they're coming from. Because I think that's something that I ran into, and I'm sure a lot of Black PhDs ran into when they're sort of going through either their, doctoral training or thereafter. It's like, I have to explain why Black identity needs to be in a model, and like why it's important that we, don't control for race in any statistics things, or why it's, because we're missing the value. And so I'm excited that this exists so that folks can like learn in community, like that's super important, because you get burnt out when folks aren't listening or aren't understanding where you're coming from. And so it's super valuable. So I'm excited about the work that you all are doing. I'm excited about my own research career. I'm excited about this Wanawari project. It's really been moving, and we're about to launch the survey for homeowners in a little bit. And so I'm just excited about everything that's going on in Seattle, especially.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been a real change for me as far as like working with King County Equity now and being able to work with so many Black people. Like, even in grad school where, I went to Florida International University in Miami. We definitely had a lot of Hispanic students, but not a lot of Black students, and not a lot of the Black professors. And just the different ways that people try and like use your identity for their own personal research or validation of their research, where maybe they probably shouldn't be doing research. I experienced that. And so like being able to like work in this space and like you said, learn in community, like I'm learning just along with all our community researchers, just how community research can look and how community voice can be amplified and through research. And it's just been, I'm with you, super exciting work and super exciting to see just how it all continues to progress. So yeah, and we're so excited, you know, with Wanawari's project and the stuff that's being done and the stuff that you're working on. So I'm excited that the survey is about to be up and y'all are moving. So, cool. Our next part of our show, we usually close out with our calls to action. And a couple of things that I would like to lift up per usual. Please complete our community needs survey. We want everyone to complete it. It's not per household. We want all individuals to complete the survey so that we can find out what you need, find out if all your needs are being met, and how you're interested in working with King County Equity Now. Also, please tell the mayor to free the funds. We're still waiting on $4 million for gun violence prevention and an additional $10 million for scaling up community orgs. And last, we have a teach-in today at 3:30. Please tune in on our social media platforms. You can find it on Facebook for sure. And join in, listen to our community researchers, ask your questions. There'll be an opportunity for Q&A at the end. Yeah, and what do you got for us, Kristen?
Calls to action for me. One, if you know or are a Black homeowner that lives in the Central District, please find your way to Wanawari's website and complete our sort of introductory contact information so that we can get you added to the list, because our survey is going to be launched pretty soon, and so we want to get as many Black homeowners as possible to complete the survey. And it's also, I mean, it's a part of a larger organizing effort, and so there are multiple ways to be involved, and the survey is just the first step. So please complete that. And other calls to action is just like, you know, I've been thinking a lot about sort of how folks engage in meaningful work, and I have been sharing a lot that how important it is for folks to find out what's meaningful to them first. So spend some time with yourself, finding out what's meaningful to you, what are you into, what do you want to do to change your community, and then plug in based on that. So plug into areas that are meaningful to you, and I think that's a really sustainable way. I see a lot of folks getting burnt out by just, you know, jumping on board and getting involved in things that might not necessarily align with where they are at the time. So I'm just saying, you know, words to just find out what's meaningful to you and then do that.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you. We'll put some links in the description for all those things. We'll put a link to Wanawari's webpage and where you can put in that contact information. We'll also put a link to our survey and our a sample email to the mayor about freeing the funds, as well as some information about the teach-in. So looking forward to seeing you all's work. Very happy for you to join us here, Kristen. I appreciate it. Now that's all we got. So I'll say goodbye and we'll close it out.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.